Whether used to craft a painstaking recreation of the Metal Gear Solid 5 prologue, or fill a pit with a bunch of bears and bad guys and watch them fight to the death, Far Cry's map editor has been a novel addition to the series. And while the editors in Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4 each improved on the original idea, Far Cry 5's map editor, now dubbed Far Cry Arcade, is aiming to make it the best iteration yet. The concept is the same as it was in previous versions. Give players the tools they need to build environments using in-game assets, then populate them with enemies, items, and vehicles. Far Cry 3's editor was focused on building maps for its PvP multiplayer modes, while 4's allowed players to create objective-based scenarios that could be conquered either solo or with a friend in co-op. Far Cry Arcade combines the best of both worlds to allow you to build, well, whatever the hell you want, really. The key detail here is that the toolset will no longer be limited to assets that appear in Far Cry 5. You'll be able to use assets from all around the Ubiverse, including Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, and more. During our preview test drive, we saw a few different maps. One, for a 6v6 team deathmatch mode, was set on a beach covered with buildings and debris imported from past Far Cry locales. It felt bizarrely fun, like a mix of classic Call of Duty plus a pinch of Uncharted, though I'll admit that it felt like there was a bit of an issue with map balance and how camping-friendly one-side spawn area was. We also played through 2 solo missions created with Far Cry Arcade. The first was an assassination mission that had us trying to reach a target without sounding any alarms. While the gameplay itself wasn't that far removed from what we'd already seen in the main game, its industrial setting was a nice change-up from the Montana wilderness. The other mission had us exploring a trippy, claustrophobic labyrinth that seemed straight out of the Upside Down or a Salvador Dali painting and felt more like survival horror than Far Cry. I'm not too proud to admit that I played through the first few minutes of it with my volume turned way down. Goats are scary, man. The ability to create not just maps but missions too was a great addition to Far Cry 4's editor, and while we only saw a small sample of Arcade's potential, it's clearly interested in offering up bigger and more interesting possibilities than its predecessor. Personally, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is my favorite Far Cry game by leaps and bounds, and the only reason it exists is because the developer was able to take the tools at their disposal and say, wouldn't it be wild if? And I can't wait to see what happens when the community gets to ask themselves the same question. For more on Far Cry 5, check out the madness of its co-op mode or the full playthroughs of the arcade missions we got to check out. For everything else in Hope County and beyond, you're already in the right place here at IGN.